Hi everyone. In this session, we'll discuss about deadlock prevention. Okay, this is the second method of handling the deadlock. The first one we have discussed in the last session, that is nothing but deadlock ignorance. Coming to the second one, it is deadlock prevention. Okay, so there are some conditions for deadlock prevention. Okay, for deadlock prevention, there are some conditions. They are nothing but mutual exclusion, hold and wait, no preemption, circular wait. Okay. So out of these two, we need to prevent at least two. We need to prevent at least two. Okay. So thereby we can avoid or we can prevent deadlock. Okay. So what are the possibilities of preventing two? So we have to prevent at least two from the specified list of four. Okay, out of these four, if we try to prevent two from occurring, then we can avoid deadlocks. Okay, we will see what are the possibilities to avoid. So coming to the first one, mutual exclusion. So mutual exclusion means what is mutual exclusion. For example, if a resource R1 is being allocated to a process P1. Okay, no other process can access this resource. That is mutual exclusion. What is mutual exclusion? When a resource is being accessed by any process, okay, if a process P1 is accessing the resource R1, okay, until this process P1 releases the resource R1, no other process is allowed to access this resource. That is what mutual exclusion means. Okay. So here what the author is telling is, this mutual exclusion is not possible in all cases. Means if you want to make this resource shareable to all the process, so resource shareable is not possible in all the cases. Mutual exclusion we have seen. If we want to avoid this mutual exclusion, what we have to do? We have to share this resource to all the process. But it's not possible in all the cases. Why? Because there are a number of reasons. For example, if we share this resource, suppose, if we share this resource, what happens is, suppose, if we share this resource, what happens is, suppose process P1, process P2, process P3. Okay. Let us suppose I am sharing the resource. Okay. This resource is being shared to process P1, process P2, process P3. Okay. So here we have some information or data in this. Suppose if process P1 is performing some write operation, what happens? This data will be modified or this data will be updated. Whereas process P2 is performing some read operation, okay, as well as process P3 is also performing a read operation. Okay, so process P2 and P3 are performing read operation from the existing data. So they have completed the operation. The read operation is completed successfully. But yet this process P1 is performing some write operation. When write operation takes place, what happens? The existing data will be modified or updated. Okay. So whatever the data the process P2 and P3 wants to read, okay, they didn't read the exact data. Okay, there will be some mismatch or error takes place. This is one drawback. Okay. Coming to another drawback, for example, if you take the resource as printer or scanner, if it is a printer or scanner, suppose if printer resource is there, if it is connected to different process like P1, P2, P3, okay, like that, if this printer resource is connected to different processes and if all the process gives a print option to the single printer all at a time, so a single printer cannot print all the documents all at a time. It will print one after the other. Okay, that's also one major drawback. That's why the author says. So what the author is telling is resource shareable is not possible in all cases. Example, we have discussed printer, scanner, all these are some of the examples for resources, and all these cannot be shareable. Okay, they can be accessed one after the other or one by one. Okay, so therefore preventing this mutual exclusion is not possible. So we can't prevent mutual exclusion. What we have discussed, if we prevent at least 2 of 4. So here we have four conditions for there. Out of 4, if we prevent at least 2, if we prevent at least 2, thereby we can avoid deadlock. So the first one, the mutual exclusion cannot be prevented. Why? Because we have discussed, right? Okay, hope you have understood, right? Now we will go for second one. Second one is hold and wait. You know what is hold and what is wait. Hold and wait means you know what is hold and wait. So in the previous example we have discussed process P1. Okay, process P1 is holding resource R1. Process P2 is holding resource R2. This is resource R2, right? So P1 is holding R1, and if it is waiting for R2, and P2 is holding resource R2 and it is waiting for R1. So it is P1 is holding and waiting. P2 is holding and waiting. This is hold and wait example. Okay, it is hold and wait. It also leads to deadlock. So here what the author is telling is, in order to make this as false, what we can do is, so whatever the process, see here, we have to identify the list of processes, list of resources the process wants to access, means we will see. So here, hold and wait, we are discussing about hold and wait. So first we have to identify, so let us suppose we have different process P1, process P2, process P3. Okay, first we have to identify, okay, all the resources what this P1 wants. Let us suppose we have resources R1, R2, R3. Okay, so whatever the resources the P1 wants, allocate all the resources to P1. Suppose if it wants R1 and R2, okay, allocate these resources. Okay, allocate these resources to P1. Thereby what P1 will do? After accessing these two resources, it will release. Okay, out of these 3 resources, P1 wants only 2 resources, R1 and R2. So after utilizing R1, it will release R1. Thereby R1 can be accommodated or allotted to some other process. So here there is no concept of waiting. No waiting here. No waiting. Here there is no concept of waiting here. We have to identify all the resources what the process P1 wants. Okay, we have to identify the list of resources the P1 wants to access. Let us suppose R1 and R2 are the 2 resources what the P1 wants to access. So we have to allocate these 2 resources to P1. Once P1, the process P1 uses these 2 resources, it will release these 2 resources. Now we will go to P2. What P2 wants? Let us suppose P2 wants all the 3. So R1 is released, R2 is released, and R3 is available. Now R1, R2, R3. These 3 resources you allocate to P2. Thereby if P2 accesses these 3 resources, then it will release these 3 resources. Now again for P3, suppose it wants only R3 and R2, suppose. Okay, we will allocate those to process P3. Okay, here there is no concept of waiting. So by this we can avoid deadlock. See here. So after that all the required resources will be allocated to the process. So the process will access these resources and will release the resources one by one after accessing. So here there is no concept of waiting for resources. So here this is possible. Here we can avoid this. Hold and wait can be avoided. We can avoid this. Okay? Right. So previous one is mutual exclusion. It is not possible. So hold and wait, it is possible. Okay? Next comes no preemption. No preemption. So what is preemption? Preemption is nothing but, for example, what is preemption? Because we are discussing about no preemption. When we discuss that, we should know what is preemption. Preemption is nothing but, suppose if a process P1 is holding a resource R1, okay, right? At the same time, so when resource R1 is being accessed by process P1, or when P1 is holding a resource R1, if another process P2 keeps a request, here P1 is holding, if it keeps a request, another process P2 keeps a request to resource R1, okay, the resource R1 should not give permission to the process P2 for accessing resource R2. Okay, R1 should be accessed by process P2 only when this process P1 releases this resource. Okay, when process P1 completes its execution with this resource R1, then only the resource R1 is available for process P2. That is no preemption. Okay. That is preemption. Here there is no that is no preemption. To make it preemptive, we use time bounding method. Here we have used time bounding method. Here what happens is process P1 will be allotted a time slot. Here this is time slot. Okay. That time slot during that time slot only this process P1 can access this resource. Okay. Let us suppose this is resource R. Okay. Similarly, process P2 will be given some other time slot or time bound. Within the time bound only, this process P2 has to access this resource. Okay. So with this also we can avoid deadlock. So here what we are telling is for every process we will allocate. Okay, we will allocate resource to a process for a particular time bound. Suppose if we have n processes. All the n process, let us suppose we have n process P1, P2 and so on to Pn. If we have n processes and if all these n processes wants to access the same resource R, okay. So for that what we are doing, we are giving a time bound, we are giving a time slot for this, okay, T1, for this another time slot T2, okay, Tn. So during this time slot only this resource can be accessed by the particular process. So with this we can avoid deadlock. So here we can prevent this also. This is also possible. Okay. Third one. First one, mutual exclusion, it's not possible. Second one is hold and wait, it is possible. So next one is no preemption, it is possible. Here also we can avoid, right? 2 is over. We will see the third one. So the third one is circular wait. Here what we have to do is we have to assign numbers to the resources. We have to assign numbers to the resources. And all the process has to access the required resources in the ascending order. So then there is no point of circular wait. See, normally what is circular wait? Circular wait is nothing but, let us suppose, if a process P1 is there, okay, if it is holding resource R1, okay, process P1 is holding resource R1 and process P2 is holding resource R2, okay, and P1 is waiting for resource R2, okay, right, whereas P2 is also waiting for resource R1. So here, this is circular wait. In order to avoid this, what we are doing is, so first, whatever the available resources, give numbering for all the available resources. So let us suppose if you have resources, if you have 5 resources, let us suppose resource R1, R2, R3, R4, R5. Let us suppose there are 5 resources available. So what the author is saying, give numbering for all the available resources. Available resources are 5. Let us suppose we have some processes P1, P2, P3, P4. Let us suppose we have 4 processes. So this wants to access resource R2, R4. This one's R1, R3, R5. This one's only R5. This one's only R3. Let us suppose. So what the author is telling is, in order to avoid the deadlock, what the author is telling is, first give numbering to all the available resources. Now execute the processes. The process has to access the resources in ascending order. Suppose if process P1 wants to access, it has to access R2 first, then R4. Similarly P2, R1 first, R3, R5. P3, R5. P4, R3. Like that, you have to access. That's what the author is telling. See, a process can access the resources in ascending order only, then there won't be any circular wait. If they access in ascending order, then there won't be any circular wait. Okay. So here also we can avoid prevention. We can avoid deadlock. Deadlock can be avoided or prevented. So deadlock can be prevented. So here no circular wait. We can manage this without circular wait. So the first one is what the first one? The first one is mutual exclusion. Mutual exclusion cannot be prevented. Okay, right. So it is wrong. Okay. So if you see the first one, mutual exclusion cannot be prevented. Okay. Next, hold and wait. We can manage this. We can avoid this hold and wait, because here we have discussed a concept where there won't be any waiting. Third one, no preemption. So we can avoid that by using time slot or time bomb. Okay. Fourth one is circular wait. So what we have discussed, if you manage only 2, okay, we have managed 3, so there is no problem. So we can prevent deadlock. Okay, so with this we will conclude the deadlock prevention. Okay, thank you.